Being a connected educator certainly has its advantages. This job, for example, I wouldn't have heard about it had I not been on Twitter. I've also met, both virtually and face-to-face, many people who have expanded my way of thinking, and several others who have enabled me to grow and develop more than I could have alone. One such person is my guest for today.
Good morning, Matt. I'm Rae Fearing, and I am Director of Innovation and Special Programs for the Del Norte County Office of Education in Northern California. I'm also part-time principal of a small K-8 school. We're located up in the mountains, actually in a national recreation area. It's beautiful.
Rae and I met, well, I'm not exactly sure how we first met, actually. We've never met in person, but she has been a driving factor in the success of NoWorksheetWeek, which is a challenge that I developed for my previous school district, but which has gone worldwide thanks to Rae's influence. In today's episode, she and I chat about science, technology, leadership, teaching, being a Google innovator, and most importantly, we announce the dates for NoWorksheetWeek 2020, which is our 7th annual event. So how big is your district?
We have approximately 4,000 students, give or take. Okay. And we are a one district county, so it's just one district, and that makes it really easy for the work that we do. And then we have about 240 teachers, I believe.
So I'm in Illinois, as you know, and in Illinois, schools can be kind of crazy when it comes to districts. Like we have one building districts and things like that. Are you guys a little more consolidated than we are?
We are, in that we have one comprehensive high school, the main high school, and then an alternatives high school. We have community school, all the way down to all of our elementary schools, a couple middle schools, and they're all part of the same district. So we don't have different factions or one building districts within that, wanting to do different things. We're all going the same direction and on the same page, which makes it really super helpful as we're trying to improve learning for all students in the county, because we're all part of the same district, so we work together.
Do you think part of it has to do with your geography? I was looking at the map of California and where you are, and you're kind of way up there in the northwest corner, kind of geographically isolated. You have all these mountains and it's hard to get to you.
It is extremely hard to get to us. When presenters come here, the first thing I always say is, have you looked at a map to see where we are? Because you may change your mind once you see. So we are about 20 miles south of the Oregon border, right on the coast. So literally our front yard is Pacific Ocean and our backyard is redwood trees. So we are nestled in multiple national and state parks, and we are a good hour and a half from any other city, except Brookings, Oregon. We are just, like I said, about 20 minutes from them. They're on the other side of the border, but they're small like we are. So we're all very isolated over here on the coast, but it is breathtakingly beautiful. I literally work in an area and live in an area that's a vacation destination.
Yes, that sounds amazing. And I'm sure it provides lots of opportunities for your STEM school.
Tremendous, yes. Last year I took our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students, which was about 40 kids, river rafting. We actually were able to get it board approved, and we took a number of rafts and kayaks and floated the river in May, and it was fantastic. What a time. It was wonderful.
Yeah, and then you were a science teacher, right? And you taught marine biology?
I was. I taught at the high school. I got hired in 1999. I wanted to teach middle school. That's where I student taught, but a high school position came open and I was like, oh no, high school. But I applied and got hired, and I loved it. I love teenagers. I love middle schoolers and high schoolers and being around that age of student. I got a single subject credential in general science and biology, so I taught biology, general science, marine science, a little bit of nutrition, whatever they needed. And I did that for about 13 years.
And so what was your biggest challenge as a classroom teacher? When you look back on it, what do you cringe at and brings you still goosebumps when you think about your teaching?
I think, and I really noticed it the last couple of years, I was getting so frustrated that the students weren't all learning. Some kids were learning, and those were most of the kids that probably could have learned with or without me. They were just motivated. They did well in a traditional classroom, could read and listen and learn, but I couldn't reach the other kids. And that really was frustrating. And so I tried to go to more competency-based teaching and giving kids, multiple opportunities to revise, refine, and resubmit their work, and telling them that it's not about getting it right the first time. It's about, are you learning? And I that was the one thing I really regretted that I didn't figure out earlier in my career. And that's what motivated me to get my master's. I really wanted to be better at what I was doing, and I wasn't getting the PD I needed, through the district, because they can't do everything. So I found an online master's program and got a master's in science education. And that really pushed me to up my game. And it really broadened my understanding of learning and teaching and science instruction. So that really has totally shifted. That was the best PD I've ever had, was that master's. So I'm super excited with the things I've been doing since then.
And so it sounds like you found your master's program to be beneficial after you had taught for a few years.
Yes, definitely. I don't think, the first 5 you're just surviving and figuring out how to, not show fear. No. But, you're just kind of figuring out the game and how to teach and run a classroom. And so I think about year 10, I went for my master's and I found a tremendous online program through Oregon State University. And Dr. Emily Van Zee was the head of the science master's program that I went into. And she was so supportive. It was the best online program I've seen. Tremendous. I collaborated with people all over the country digitally. And I only went to campus for graduation. I never even went to campus, but we met, digitally all the time. So I felt very connected. I've contacted Professor Van Zee even after my master's, asking her questions and talking to her about things. So it was a really amazing learning opportunity.
And so how long after your master's program did you become a technology coach?
So towards the end of my master's, I started bringing that learning back to my district and asking my assistant soup and curriculum director, hey, can we do this? What about this? Hey, I'm learning about this. And at the same time, I had discovered Google. So I was using Google tools in my classroom with the students. So we were collaborating on docs. The students were building websites to use as portfolios for their learning. And other teachers were hearing about it because students were going to them and saying, why aren't we doing this in Google? So I don't lose my work, or so you can give me that feedback quicker. And so I was pushing that as well. So both of those things led to a position where I was able to work part-time. My last year in the classroom, I taught, I think, 4 days a week and was at the district 1 day a week, something like that. But they managed to make it so I could come over and start doing some district-wide PD and training and working at that level. And then I just transitioned after that to full-time at the district, and I helped usher in our switch to Google Apps for Education as a district, and then started working on other tech initiatives. We were starting to buy technology at that time and getting a lot of iPads, and which eventually we also got Chromebooks too, but there weren't Chromebooks really at that time. And so just helping to, make decisions about technology, how to use it, and then offering trainings to teachers. So it was kind of a gradual move over into that coaching position.
So sort of the right person at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I think so.
And so we met, we've never met face to face, but we've known each other or been connected for several years now in relation to No Worksheet Week. And I think that came about because we were both tech coaches at the same time and trying to find ways to invigorate our teachers and become less paper dependent, right?
Yeah.
And so what are we up to? How many years are we up to No Worksheet Week now?
Is it 5?
I could swear it's more than that, but
it could be. It could be 7. I have to go back and look.
Yeah. Anyway, because I haven't been.
How have we never met face to face? I can't believe our paths haven't crossed in real life yet.
Well, yeah. I don't know. One of these days. Yeah. And even this summer, I was in Northern California visiting my dad. But then I saw how isolated you were over there. I was like, oh my God, that's a full day trip just to go over and see Rae.
It is.
One of these days, there'll be a conference or something. But all kidding aside, you and I now want to announce when the 2020 No Worksheet Week is, right?
Yes, I'm super excited to do it yet again.
Okay. And so, of course, we have to make it bigger and better, right? You just can't go with the status quo. And so we've decided to kind of make last year's a little bit bigger because you folks over there decided to go from a week to a month. And then on my end, I did some poor planning, confession right there, and kind of made the No Worksheet Week right around the time that our schools take spring break. And so it was kind of a disaster over this way. And so, drum roll, I think I even have one here.
Do you have one?
Oh.
It's not a joke.
So we're going to do No Worksheet Month, and we're backing it up this year. So in 2020, it'll be No Worksheet Month during the month of February.
Yes.
Yes. And the idea is that since it's called No Worksheet Week, people can still do a week's worth of no worksheets in their class, but they can choose one of those weeks out of the whole month.
Right. A little more choice for them.
Yes.
And it's February. So it's, love. We're giving love to no worksheets and going paperless and more student-centered. So it's a great month to move it to. I'm excited.
And before the show, you and I were talking about some cool things that we might do as far as like themes or prizes or things like that. So stay tuned, everybody. It's going to be amazing.
Yes.
It's going to be the biggest and
bigger and
best
better
yet. And we're going to kick it off on January 25th which is a Saturday, at 10 o'clock a.m. Central Time, so 8 o'clock your time. And we're going to have our the pre-No Worksheet Week chat.
Yeah, so that'll be a time for teachers. And I know teachers are early risers, so no problem out here on the West Coast to be up at 8 on a Saturday and just get on the Twitters. And we're going to talk about, ideas and strategies and get excited about No Worksheet Week.
Right. And if you want to see more about what No Worksheet Week is all about, and if you've never heard of it before, NoWorksheetWeek.com is a good place to start. There's some resources up there, which we'll be updating as soon as we get our themes together for this year, which I'm really excited about, and our prizes. Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. So stay tuned, everybody, and join us in February 2020. Yeah.
Yes. Can't wait.
Anyway, but that was because we were tech coaches together at around the same time. Yes. And so that's how we connected. But since then, you've moved into the role of principal and doing a lot of work with NGSS. I guess that harkens back to your science background. You just can't give it up, can you?
No, I can't. I love science, and science, in a perfect world, if Rae ran education, we would teach science and all the other subjects would support science because I just think it's the best subject ever. I love nature and the world and engineering, and kids are excited about it. So I love science. I love seeing kids getting excited about science. And I'm super excited about NGSS because before I became a teacher, I worked for about 10 years in the zoo and aquarium field. And so I worked at a zoo. I was a part-time zookeeper, did some animal training. I've worked with tons of different animals. But when kids came and schools came to the zoo, they were so excited to learn about everything I had to say, and rainforests and deserts and what animals eat and how they survive. And when I became a teacher at the high school, a lot of kids, science was their least favorite. And I couldn't understand it because it's the coolest. I mean, where else do you get to dissect stuff and grow bacteria and, look at plants and go outdoors? And there's so much. It's so rich and interesting. And my goal is to make science fun for everybody again, and to keep that curiosity and excitement for learning about science that you see in kindergarten and first grade, sustained all the way through high school. So
you said something a bit ago, how you wish that schools could base all the other curriculum around science. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that now it seems like now it's about literacy, like reading? Do you feel that's true?
Yeah. And, even I've been out of the classroom probably 7 years now, but even towards the end of my time in high school classrooms, we noticed significantly kids coming with less and less science knowledge at the high school level. So we used to see them come from middle school and, you'd expect a certain amount of learning, and then it diminished the more that science, literacy and math were pushed. And now I recognize with some of the NGSS, the science training I've gone through, that the only way we're going to get time in the day for science is if we integrate it with the other subjects. So it has to support language arts and mathematics if we want to see science taught as it needs to be taught, and given the time that it needs. It has to be able to help you meet those standards as well.
Yeah. So I started out as a science teacher as well, except I did junior high. And then I kind of went down the grades. So my tech coaching was K-5 for the most part. And talking with those teachers and then trying to get them excited about teaching science, because like you said, kids would come to me in 7th grade. And oftentimes my science class was the first real science they ever had. And they're 12 years old. And that always surprised me. The male teacher thing, you're the first guy teacher I ever had. Okay, I get that. But the science thing always surprised me. But then I would talk to the teachers when I would push into the classrooms with technology. And I would always be, excited about, let's talk about, animals and tundras and things like that. And there I was like, yeah, but it doesn't go with this book that we're supposed to be reading. So I like your idea of pushing it to be fully integrated.
Absolutely. And I've worked a lot with K-5 teachers in science. And what I find is their science identity is not always where it needs to be. They don't feel confident in themselves as science learners. To get your K-5 or your elementary teaching credential, some people don't take very little, if any, science. And so they need support to feel prepared and confident in teaching science to children. And they don't want to teach them something wrong. And so that is the angle we have to go at as professional development designers and administrators, is to make sure our teachers are getting what they need so that they can teach the science, because they want to. They know it engages the kids, but they lack either content knowledge or strategies or whatever it might be. They need that help as a learner as well, so that they can feel confident and provide that education to the kids.
Do you feel the NGSS standards enable districts to help with this?
I don't know if the standards themselves enable it. I do think it's an opportunity, since we haven't had science standards adopted in a while in California, to make sure we are providing that. So the standards are complicated, and this whole 3-dimensionality of the learning, and I think the practices, the science and engineering practices, and the content, the disciplinary core ideas are something we're familiar with to a degree. But the cross-cutting concepts, I was aware of them as a high school science teacher, but I didn't explicitly teach them to my students or require them to understand how they connect to the core ideas and practices. So I think that's something new. So we have to be real aware that we're asking a much deeper level of learning of our students. And so the teachers need support there too.
So in your role as a principal who has been had the supporting role of a tech coach and then been in the classroom, I imagine those two prior roles have helped you develop your teachers.
Yes, I think I work with some great teachers. Like I said, the school is only 75 students. And so I have 3 teachers. They have 3 grade levels in each room. So we have a K2 room, a grades 3-5 room, and a 6-8 classroom. So they have a lot to do, but it's great because they know if they have a tech question, I'm there and I can help them. And with my science background, I'm there to support that as well. But it's been awesome. And I have great teachers who are willing to try new things and who are excited to push themselves and their students into. We have an engineering program that we use called Project Lead the Way, and they're really excited about giving students those opportunities, and they're not afraid to try new things and to keep learning themselves. And so it's been just a really great experience.
Districts in our area are using the same one, so I think it's a pretty cool project.
It's intense, but it is definitely worth it. We are already seeing our kids' skills just skyrocket, and we've had some high school people, educators look at our program and go, your kids know how to do things that I don't ever see kids coming to the high school knowing how to do with technical skills. So they're really excited about, the skills our students are getting and how that's going to help them advance and move even farther in high school.
So if you could describe the role of principal in a word or a phrase, what would it be?
Helping teachers. I think that is a big role in my coaching and a big role as a principal is helping teachers do their job. That's what I'm there for. And we're all helping students learn. We want all of our students to learn and achieve at high levels. And I'm there to facilitate that. I'm there to take care of the stuff. I don't want to say crap, but the stuff, that they don't need to be bothered with so that I can get that out of their way, remove those barriers and help them do their job. And I just really want to open up their time and their energy to focus on student learning and making sure that we're hitting all the kids, that they're all getting what they need. And that means making sure teachers get what they need. And one of the great things about what I get to do, and my teachers are open to it, which is amazing, is they let me come in and guest teach if I want. And it may be a 10-minute, little lesson, or it may be a multi-day lesson. I got to teach some science lessons I was writing. And so I get to get in there and practice with them. And I got a wonderful compliment from one of my teachers once. She said, PD is great, Rae. We love it when you do a PD session, but there's nothing that compares to when we get to watch you teach.
Yeah, that is a great compliment.
Huge compliment.
Yeah. So do you ever, having them watch you teach makes me think of, do they ever watch, there's only 3 of them, which makes it difficult, but do they ever have a chance to watch each other teach?
Yes. And so I encourage it all the time. And I also tell them, if you ever want to go see somebody else teach at another school, if we can't get a sub, if I can't find one or we can't afford one, I will watch your class. I will teach. You go and you watch whoever you want to, connect with. And I'll also relieve them if they want to go in each other's classrooms. And we've been working on that last year, is giving them time to get out and just observe either standards, alignment, or classroom management, or a specific strategy, or a technology tool. Anytime they want out, I want them to be able to go see other teachers, because that really is so helpful. I mean, that's the one thing you hear, right, from teachers is, I never get to see other people teach, and I really want to. So I like to support that.
Yeah. And I found that, I did all my teaching and my administrative work in the junior high level. But then when I got down to the elementary level and was, observing kindergarten teachers and first and second grade, I learned so much about teaching that I wish I had known as a junior high teacher, as far as just procedure and classroom management and things like that, because they have to be masters. And so I would go back to, 8th grade teacher, the math teacher, and be like, you need to go watch Mrs. So-and-so down in kindergarten. And they'd be like, no, thanks.
Yeah.
But I was like, really, you do, because it's truly eye-opening, and teaching is teaching, in my opinion. So
it is. Teaching is teaching. And I agree. And it's very hard to get middle and high school teachers to listen to, or let alone go and observe K-5 teachers. But I have learned so much about teaching from K-5 teachers. And I agree. Anytime you can get into a K-5 classroom, that has been huge learning for me as well. They're masters, like you said, at learning centers and facilitating instructions so that students can be monitoring and motivated and progressing through what they need to do. It's amazing to watch.
Well, and then just the transitions, no one ever taught me about transitions, but it's a huge focus in elementary classrooms. And I think it would have helped me a lot. So,
yeah, because if you don't, kindergartners take 30 minutes to transition.
Oh my gosh, yes. So, you're a Google Innovator. And
yes.
I've started these Google camps where I'm working people through the level 1, level 2 certification. And not being an innovator myself, I'm only at the trainer level. Can you describe kind of what the process is? I know you have to make an application, but what are the benefits and all that kind of thing? What was your project? Can you just fill us in a little bit?
Okay, so I applied 3 times and I was turned down the first 2. So that would be my first tip is, if you don't get accepted the first time, it's okay. I know lots of amazing teachers and educators who applied 4 times or even 5 times before they got in. So keep applying. Then I went through Chicago. So I went to the Google Teacher Academy in 2013 in Chicago, and it was amazing. It was so amazing. That's the first time I saw that you can get Pellegrino machines, like a soda machine. I was like, what? They had one on every floor. And I was like, okay, this is my new normal. I must have one. So, but it was amazing because you spend 2 or 3 days with this group of people and you really bond together. So there are people from my academy who I am still close to today because we went through something together. It was amazing. So John Ike in the Sacramento area, Joanne Fox in San Diego, multiple people that I still connect with and can call anytime. And so it's a network. You get this really amazing network, and not just the people you go through the academy with, but all Google Innovators. So we have a Voxer group where you can go and talk to other innovators. And there's a Google group, lots of different ways we connect. So the networking is just amazing. I've had a couple projects I've been working on, and to be honest, they never turn out the way I think they're going to. So I start one direction, which is typical, I think, and I end up going a different direction. So one of them I'll mention just so I can share my failures with people. I tried to do one called Google Scoodles. There's the doodles, right? Yeah. And people can design or add their thoughts to the Google logo. And then if you get picked as a doodle, they'll feature it on the Google search page. So I was making a Google Scoodles, and I wanted schools to design a Google logo around their school, what they love about their school. And I still think it's a good idea, but it didn't take off. And I thought, we could give prizes to schools and it would build school pride. But like I said, it didn't really go the way I thought it would. So I'm working on other projects now. And one of the main projects was building capacity for Google in my county and providing training around Google integration. And so that's been a huge success. That's been really great. And so I don't know, it's just an amazing opportunity and you should apply, Matt.
So do you always have to be working on a project or to maintain your innovator status?
You do. And so I have to submit, I think they change things, periodically. And so sometimes I'm not current, but you do have to submit projects that you're working on, professional development you've provided or projects you've completed, and they have a form we fill out. So I try to keep that updated so that any projects I'm doing in that area, I get recorded. And then you can also be part of a cadre of people who make themselves available to other organizations that might want to work with a Google Innovator. And I haven't pursued that too much just because, working full time in a county office in a district is really busy, but I have done a little bit that way. And that's been super fun too, to be able to help other people get on their Google journey is an exciting thing.
Well, I know you help other schools, or at least people, just being a connected educator and working through Q.
Yes.
So can you give us other non-California people an idea of what Q is?
Q has been around for a very long time, and it stands for Computer Using Educators. But of course, that title is a bit outdated. And so now it's all about, Q up the learning and Q innovation. And what they are is like a master PD provider, professional development provider in California, and they're branching out other places. And so they have some of the most well-attended and dynamic conferences that I've been to. And I have been to lots of different conferences, and I keep going back to Q because that's where I get the most learning, the most support, the most innovation, all that comes from these Q experiences. So they have a fall Q conference, which has been typically in Napa, but this year they are moving it to Rancho Cordova in Sacramento. So it's our first year going over there in a very long time. And I'm going to be presenting at the Q conference in October in Rancho Cordova. And I'm excited about that. I think my session is, if I remember, I've submitted to several, so I have to think for a minute, but it's NGSS 101 for administrators. And then there's a spring Q conference every year in March in Palm Springs. I try to go to that every other year if I can. Palm Springs is just super fun. And that's a big conference. And it's at the convention center down there. And it's just amazing to get all those people together. There is so much energy, and they are a very giving group. So what I love about Q is, and John Carippo is now, has been working with Q for a while. And if you don't know John Carippo, you need to follow him on Twitter. He's amazing. And he's just so supportive of everyone. And he's really supportive of encouraging people to be lead learners and to offer and share their learning with others. And so I've been doing Q conference presenting and also Q Bold. And if you haven't heard of Q Bold, if you go to q.org, CUE.org, and look up their conferences, Q Bold is something they've done for 3 years now. I've presented at 2 of them, and it's blended and online lesson design. And it's a very high-packed weekend of a lot of really great ideas about how to maximize blended and online lesson design, which we're all teaching blended with technology in the classroom. Even if you're not full online, we're all working in a blended environment. So the Q Bold conferences are really great for that. And they also highlight new classroom design. So there's always at least 2 classrooms, which they renovate at every school they go to hold the conference. And so when they leave, 2 classrooms are completely updated and renovated with flexible and student-centered seating, and also technology. And, but it also gives teachers and people a chance to see what's possible in a classroom and how different arrangements for classroom design can really facilitate and support learning. So I love being part of Q. It's a huge privilege to be able to work with them and present at these conferences. And it's just an amazing organization to be associated with.
Well, I've been hearing about it more and more. I think people from our area are starting to go out there even. So
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. We've had people at the last one in Palm Springs. There are people from all over the country there, and they, make a special trip and plan a vacation to come out to California, attend the conference. And it's awesome to meet and talk to all those people. Yeah.
We have the ICE conference here in Chicago in February every year. Not the best destination in February, but it's freezing cold always. But but like you said, it's a very energetic group of people, and I like going up there for that. So, yeah. And so being a connected educator, just briefly, like, I'm sure you would never be unconnected. Like, you would never disconnect yourself.
I don't think I could.
Yeah. I tried.
That's how I met you. It's how I met you.
Well,
and that's been another great thing.
Yeah. And I always try to tell people, you need to get on Twitter. That's like your first step, and, build your PLN and blah, blah. And they just look at me like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, how do you not have time for that? Because it will, yeah. Anyway, We're preaching to the choir here, and probably anyone listening to this show is already connected and blah, blah, blah. So, right. So,
yeah.
So what's your next challenge? I mean, you still have a while yet in your career, so.
Do I? No, I've been just hit 20 years at this district. So I'm 20 years in. I started late. As I said, I had a whole nother career before this. So yeah, I have some time still to go. And one thing I'm really working on is developing personalized online learning for teachers. I think we're all experiencing, I know we are in California, that pulling teachers for trainings during the school year is next to impossible. Whether it's lack of funding or inability to find substitute teachers so that you can get a teacher out of the classroom. And just with the increased demands on teachers in the classroom, it is very difficult to pull them out of their classroom. So I like to offer online opportunities for teachers, and I've taught an online blended teacher course for my teachers and seeing great results with that. And then right now I'm writing a 8-week course on kind of an NGSS 101 for new teachers or people who are new to NGSS. And I'll be offering that hopefully this fall. And it'll be, teachers can earn 3 units of credit through a local university taking that online class.
Well, we need to get you on Teach Illinois. See, as like an instructor with your classes. So, because that's what that's all about too. So, and that's where this podcast lives, is on Teach Illinois. So,
oh, awesome.
Yeah. Well, Rae, it's been great talking to you. It sounds like you do amazing things over there in your neck of the woods, and people are lucky to have you as a role model and as a building leader, and I think a leader in PD in California in general, right?
I don't know about that.
Well, sure.
I'm lucky.
Yeah. So thank you for taking the time to chat. It's been great catching up and learning more about you.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. And thank you so much for letting me be a part of No Worksheet Week. And I can't wait for February.
It's going to be great. I can't wait.
Thanks, Matt.
And thanks to our listeners. Remember to subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and leave us a review on iTunes or wherever. Then head on over to teachillinois.com to find our list of book studies for this upcoming school year. I'd love to have you join the little community we've started over there. It's a great group of dedicated teachers who love to share and to support each other. Thanks for listening.